Hey, good morning everybody. Just doing another video. Did one yesterday about this topic here, antiques, my tea and some thoughts. And just wanted to kind of talk about this one topic. It's going to be kind of tricky. But it's something that's come up kind of recently, and I just kind of put it in the category of leverage. And yeah, this might not have anything to do with antiques, but I'll circle back to it, and we'll see how this works in. Because it's kind of more of like from the business perspective, and it took me kind of a while to fully understand this idea, and what I'm going to try to do is explain it in pretty simple terms that clicked with me to really start understanding how this type of thing works, and also how I kind of use it dealing with antiques and vintage stuff and all kinds of things. And once you kind of learn the fundamentals, like the mechanics of how this works, you can also start applying it in all kinds of different areas of your personal life, business life, wherever else. And so I really try to get to the mechanics, some of the fundamental things that helped this idea click for me. And when I talk about leverage, I'm not talking about like some of these brokerage firms or exchanges and stuff like that, that'll give you 50 or 100x on your investment. That's just gambling to me. Anybody that's going to give you that much leverage on your money is some people can make money with that, but with that type of mentality, with that type of situation going on, your risk management is one of your main focuses. Risk management. That's another big thing that kind of works into this whole scenario, but that's not really the type of leverage that I'm talking about here. I mean, it falls into the whole category. But so years ago, I read and watch videos from all these different people, mostly real estate guys, and this is kind of what got me along the lines of thinking like this. And because real estate guys, they'll buy a house, property, commercial building, whatever, and then they look for the equity that they've built in that first building. This is like right from the first investment, their first property. Like, try to get some that equity, get the place cleaned up, fixed up, so there's some sort of equity. Equity meaning it's worth more than what you owe. Okay. So try to get that value up compared to what they owe on it, and then rent it out or borrow against that first property. Well, usually they end up doing both, because you can borrow against the equity that's been built up, and then also rent it out at the same time if it's some sort of rental type of units or whatever. Then take that borrowed equity money and basically put it into the second place. Same thing with the second place. So now you have two properties. The same type of thing. And some people have, formulas and stuff like that had it all figured out. And for a long time, I was like, took me a while to really kind of grasp onto that idea. And that I was, for a long time, I wanted to kind of start getting into some of the real estate type of things, and eventually, well, not within Fafnir Antiques LLC, but obviously it'll have to be, doesn't have to be, but it will be another company that I'll also be purchasing a property and do some real estate things with it. I want to get sidetracked into that because that's at least a year or so down the road. But so getting back to dang, I got sidetracked and I forgot where I was going. But getting back to the real estate people that have been doing this, it took me a while to kind of really grasp it. And I was like, after a while, I was like, I don't really want to be being landlord and all this stuff. Yeah, there's companies that you can hire to take care of stuff and all that, but I was like, that's not really for me. So how can I take that idea, the fundamentals of it, and apply it to other things? So this is where we start getting into kind of like some of the fundamentals of like leverage. Is so if you think about it from like a building perspective, how did the people build the pyramids? What they use pulleys or different sort of systems, basically different forms of leverage. Different forms of leverage. I'll grab some tea here. So, yeah, maybe the aliens built the pyramids or whatever. Who knows? But for easy conversation, we're gonna say people built the pyramids. And so how did they move these big blocks and stuff like that? Once again, easy conversation. We're just gonna say they use different forms, mechanical forms of leverage, pulleys or whatever. And with that, so if you've got your pulley mechanism or your kind of like your balance and your lever, you'll have your bar, and then like your I think it used to be called like fulcrum or something, that you'd be able to place your bar on, and underneath your rock or log or whatever, and you'd be able to move that, because obviously the closer you got to something, the more chances your risk management, your risk of getting injured got higher the closer you got to we'll just say the big brick used to build a pyramid. So if you're there trying to lift that brick up, you're not gonna be able to do it, or if you do move it, you're probably gonna pinch your fingers or roll over. So your risk of getting injured is a lot higher. Same thing with the pulleys. The closer you are to the mechanism on a pulley, they call it a pinch point. So if you're leveraging yourself to the point where it's extremely high in your risk management type of thinking, you're going to get caught in a pinch point. You're going to get caught in a pinch, and basically meaning like if you start to it's a good way to put this, borrow, say like 100%, just like with the real estate type of situation. If you start getting up to like 100% or more, it doesn't take a lot for a little change in the market or the economics to all of a sudden get you caught in a pinch where now you got to kind of scramble to figure out, get some money, you got to liquidate assets, something like that. So you try to get further away from what I think of it as the pinch points. So if you're going to do any sort of borrowing, always make sure that it's well below a certain level to compensate for economic market type of fluctuations. So you get further away from that, and also that way, from a risk management perspective, you're also able to sleep at night. Like, if you're worried about things going, a direction and, $1, $2, $3, like your risk level is extremely high, and you need to kind of not doing that. Otherwise, it's going to, it's going to stress you out. So, kind of looking at leverage from that type of perspective. And so I'll circle back to the antique business, or flipping, thrifting, whatever you want to call it these days. There's a couple different ways to kind of look at it, and trying to gather my thoughts. I don't have any script or anything like that, so this is just something I was thinking about last night. Decided to talk about it this morning. So, in the antique business, you're gathering your supplies from probably estate sales, auctions, flea markets, calls. If you've got a store, you probably got people coming in selling you stuff or whatever. And so probably some of them, I'll just pick on say auctions for right now. A lot of people go to auctions and try to get stuff. So, and you'll have different types of buyers, and I've kind of fallen into all these different types of categories where a person will buy, somebody will come in and spend thousands of dollars. We'll say they spend $2,000 buying a bunch of stuff, and they're we'll say that, once again, for easy conversation now, there's all kinds of different things, but usually, higher ticket items, and your percentage that you make on it might be a little bit smaller. In some cases you're going to get lucky and find something that you pick up for $1,000 and it's worth $10,000 or whatever. But on average, most of the time, your average, so auction and things that you're going to get, it's going to be a certain percentage, whatever percentage that you want to use. And I'm just going to use 10%. So if you buy stuff, buy a bunch of higher ticket items, your percentage might be a little bit smaller than some other things. And if that percentage is like, we'll just say 10%, that's a nice easy number to work with. So if you spend $2,000 and you only make 10% on it, that's $200. So that's one of those things that's pretty close. And if you're not moving those items in a very quick amount of time, the longer those items sit around over time, that starts eating into that very tight profit area. And I've seen it around here a lot of times and all over the place. You go into antique stores, even flea markets, and you'll see 50% of the inventory or more sitting there year over the year. This 50% of the inventory still being the same product for 1, 2, 3 years. Like, it just sits there. And that's one of those things, is people may have gotten into that item closer to the pinch point, because now they're in a pinch because they probably paid a lot for an item and they're not able to move that item as quickly because they're not be able to adjust to market conditions, or they just absolutely love the item. I mean, that happens to me. I've got a bunch of things that if I don't ever sell them, that doesn't really hurt me. I mean, that's not a good business perspective, but I end up buying some things that I actually like. And will I say, eventually will I buy them from myself? Yeah, maybe. Probably. We'll see what happens. But so getting back to this whole thing is, kind of got to pay attention to what's going on, and that's why I try to think about this to a point, because I'm not very good. I'm not good at math and stuff like that. I'm just kind of average or whatever. So it's not like freaking I want a photographic memory or something like that. So it took me a while just to kind of really get this where I could really understand it and apply it into numerous types of things. And the same thing with going back to the auction situation, is sometimes there will be things that you kind of have to set the price on. And you go there, spend $2,000 and make 10% or maybe a little bit more on some items. Yeah. But for me, I look at that of getting too much, the risk management perspective of that puts me too close to the pinch point. So there'll be a lot of things and that's why I see some of the videos I do, different hauls. Like, I just get like random stuff. Could be all kinds of stuff, because I'm not. And people have asked me this. They're like, "Well, what are you into? What do you like? What's your niche or whatever?" And I usually tell them, like, my thing is the deal. And obviously everybody wants to buy something for a penny or a dollar and flip it for 100 or 1,000. Like, but in realistic perspective, that's usually not going to happen. So there's this whole broad range of scenarios between, that work out in between there. But another one that usually comes up and works out pretty good is sometimes you'll find a pile of stuff, and this is happening at estate sales. This will be at auctions. There'll be just thinking about how to put this here. Usually there'll be a lot of a bunch of people will show up to, say, an auction because that auction is kind of focused on something. There'll be kind of a general theme of an auction, or sometimes even estate sales. You'll see there might be a main theme that kind of catches everybody's attention. So there's that fuzzball was annoying me. So And a lot of times what will happen then is the prices will go up and start to get closer to what I think of as that pinch point, getting me to that upper level of like a risk management that's going to get me in a pinch where there's not much room for me to budge. So that's when you kind of have to shift gears and think about, okay, what are these people that are at the auction or the estate sale not looking at? What's the oddball item that does not fit in at the estate sale or the auction? And getting back to the scenario of somebody spending getting $2,000 worth of stuff to maybe make $200 or $300 on, and that's fine, that works. But in the same type of auction or estate sale, you kind of find these little sleeper items that the people that came for the main thing, they're all chasing that price. But you'll have the sleeper items, and there's been cases where buy a box of something for $5, $10, $20. Usually not even $20. Like, usually they'll end up going, be like a first bid, second, third bid, 10, 12.50, something like that. But basically under $20. So let's just say $20. If I look at this pile of stuff, or excuse me. So if I'm looking at this box lot, and there's over 10 items in this box lot, let me just say that's kind of a low number. Let's just say 20 items. 20 items plus. If I'm looking in that box lot, I think some of the people that do the storage units, they also kind of have this same type of concept maybe. So I'll just take a quick look at a box. I can see that there's over 20 items that you can probably sell for on an average $10 a piece. So if I can get that box for under $20, and there's 20 plus items in there that sell for an average of $10, that's $200. So you got all these people chasing these other items, make a couple $100. You just slip in, spend $20 on a box that you end up making a couple $100 on anyways. Is it the most glamorous thing sometimes? No, because the things that people are chasing, yeah, they're cool. I like them. I like to put them up on my shelf. But sometimes it just doesn't make sense for me. Because a lot of the stuff I'm buying, I'm either, going to try to resell in, some form or fashion. And so, and it's just kind of this, I don't know if that falls underneath leverage, but, that's kind of that way of thinking is how am I going to position myself to minimize the risk of an investment, or minimize my risk to maximize my investment. Okay, because if you can think about those two things kind of offsetting each other, minimizing risk, maximizing your profit, then you're in a good situation where you're able to sleep at night. And this way, if there's economic market conditions change or whatever, Prices come down, that's fine. Prices go up, that's even better. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk about this. I know this is a long video, 25 minutes. Damn. Probably the other thing I just wanted to touch on that is also along the lines of leveraging, because you can leverage your time too. And I'll just kind of finish up with this. And so leveraging your time, and one of the most simple, basic type of things I can think of is, and this doesn't apply to everybody, but if there's certain ways you can implement it into your life, that's the thing. That's why I try to give these breakdowns on a, try to get it to a real basic level where it'll kind of get you thinking. Okay, so now I understand this. How can I implement it into different daily routines or whatever? So the one thing is like cutting grass. For me, now if you're working, 9 to 5 type of job, or 40 something hours a week, and that's your job, and then you come home and you just relax and you don't mind cutting your grass or whatever, that's fine. But if you got a job and you're doing something on the side, a little side hustle, or you have your own business, so you take into consideration, if it takes me 1 hour of my time to cut the grass, what's that valued at? What's that worth? What can I make in 1 hour of my time? And I've got my own number. Everybody should have their own number. Okay? Put some sort of value on it. If somebody comes knocking on my door, say, hey, I'm willing to cut your grass for, let's say, $20. I don't think that's going to happen any days soon. But because the way prices have gone over the years. But so yeah, we'll just say $25 maybe. Maybe there'd be some young kids that out there running around cutting grass or something like that. So if somebody comes up, says, hey, I'll cut your grass for $25, and I know that it takes me 1 hour at a time, can I be inside, buying and selling something, doing something that's going to create more value than the 20 or $25 I just paid somebody, to free up that time. So obviously, if you're going to pay somebody, say $20 for that hour of work, you want to make sure that you yourself are able to do something in that same hour of time to make, say, $40. This way, you just freed up an hour of your time, paid somebody $20, and you made yourself $20. Then it kind of gets into 30 minutes. I don't want to get into doubling, because doubling is going to double the amount of time, and it's already 30 minutes long. I doubt anybody's going to be watching this for 30 minutes. So, yeah, let me just wrap this up real quick. Yeah, so always find you leverage, get get a good understanding of how some things work, and try to implement these types of things in your business, or what I've done over the years is implement them in my personal finances, and my way of life, and just my thinking overall. And yeah, man, there's a couple other topics I wanted to hit on, but yeah, maybe I'll do that tomorrow. It's been 30 minutes. So, hey, if you're still in there watching this, like, subscribe, share. Should have said it earlier, but I'll put a little thing up on the screen somewhere, a little pop-up. But yeah, some other things I'm probably gonna talk about. And if you're here, drop a comment. You can put the first comment down below. We want to talk about doubling, and dang, I forgot what the other one was going to be. Anyways, we'll find out on the next one. I'll see you all later.